I thought it was a well-played game on both ends and probably could have gone either way. What I know about Stanford is, like Steph said, they play in a 4-4-2. They're very disciplined, very organized. They work hard to get behind the ball, which makes it tough to break them down. Traditionally, and not necessarily against Virginia, but well, actually, they scored their goal on a restart. They've been very good on restarts all year long, and against Virginia, that's how they ended up scoring the goal. So that's they're a very good team. They're the defending national champions. They've been there before. They have some experience back. They've lost some good guys from last year, but they have a number of guys that have played in big games and been to the Final Four. And their coach has done a good job. He's had a lot of success there. So they're going to be a tough team, good team, and we're excited because we get them at home.
What does that home field mean to you guys at this point, and kind of talk about what you need from the fans?
Well, I think Steph touched on a number of things. One is just the fact that we're not traveling is massive. The second is the comforts of being at home in your own bed, preparing for the game the night before, and eating. Again, having control of where you're eating, when you're eating, things like that. But on top of it all, and I've said this many times since I've been here at the University of Louisville, the best moments, the best athletic moments I've experienced have been where there's been massive crowds in support of an event. I go back to 2010 when we made it to the Final Four for the first time, and the crowd, willed it on that evening. And we've had special moments at Lynn this year, playing Notre Dame when they were number one, and Syracuse, and the first game ever at Lynn. It had so much to do with the crowd and the energy and the positive push we get from them. So, that's a wonderful thing about being part of the University of Louisville Athletics is the fan base that they have and the strong will they have to push teams on to be successful.
How much video have you looked at from Stanford, and how readily available is it?
It's pretty available. It is. We just before this, we're looking at some as a staff, and we have a pretty good idea of who they are. Likewise, I think they'll be pretty comfortable with knowing us, and that's why we continue to tell our players as you go into playoff games, and there's so much known about the opponent. There's very fine line between being successful and not. Well, if you do, it's very very small things. There's certain things we've done that we've been successful at, and obviously watching Stanford play, there's certain things they do that they're successful at, and the adjustments are limiting their strengths and accentuating ours. But we're not going to be doing anything drastically different than we have in the past.
Did you learn anything about your team the second half of that Notre Dame game? How they responded?
Yeah, we spoke at halftime about how we handled the first half, and I was a little bit frustrated, to be honest with you, because I thought we did an awesome job of pressuring them and being assertive until we got the first goal. And I thought after we got the first goal, we went into a protective mode. And at that point, I thought we lost a little bit of the momentum. We lost a little bit of the rhythm of the game, and Notre Dame started getting more and more of the ball. And the talk at halftime was simply to play on the front foot and be aggressive and assertive in what we do. And what I felt was once they scored the equalizer, it was kind of like poking the bear. I thought we got really aggressive at that point and stepped it up. And what I liked best was when we scored the second goal, we didn't sit back again. And I thought we were much more assertive at that point. So there was a learning process going on. And my hope is that as we go through the tournament, that at no point do we protect what we have, but we're aggressive in pursuing. And that was the message after the game as well, is that you don't win national championships by protecting. You go out and chase it. And we need to have that mentality and that attitude about training as well as any game that we play.
How do you chase from the start? Like if it's 0-0, start the game, like what does that look like early?
Well, it's a combination. From a defensive standpoint, it's stepping the pressure up, making sure that you're not conceding just territory, and putting them under pressure. From an attacking standpoint, it's being aggressive as we go forward. And that means you have to get numbers forward. You have to get people forward and playing in their half of the field. And I thought we did a much better job of both of those in the second half.
How about how big Steph has been this year for you, and just to be able to add a piece like he is?
He's added so much in two fronts. One, from a purely soccer standpoint, his experience, his skill set. He's been tremendous. He's awesome back there as a leader, directing the guys in front of him. His communication is great. And on top of it, he's just an awesome person. In the locker room with the guys, his maturity, and he knows how to win. He's a winner, and all of that has been a huge plus to our program. Early on, it was interesting. We have a leadership group, and about 10 days into preseason, I asked the leadership group, I said, is there anybody we need to include? And all of them said we need to have, Steph as part of this group as we go forward. And, from that point, he's added so much to the leadership group and helping our team move forward.
You've had grad students before, but it just kind of sometimes is luck, isn't it? To fit in and
It was timing. It was timing. One, we had a need, and he was kind of searching. I made a call to a friend of mine, Eric Vaughter, who had trained Steph, and we said, yeah, we were actually talking about a future recruit, and I said, oh, by the way, for this year we may have a need. And he said, well, I actually know somebody that he's got one more year left. He's graduated, be a graduate student. And I said, can you please give me his number? And shortly after that, I was having a conversation with Steph. And Steph, like he had told you, was a little bit in between. He was thought about pursuing a professional career last year, but I think the more he heard about the opportunity here, the more it excited him to have one more crack at winning a national championship.
Talking earlier about being assertive with the lead. In your sport, is it an instinct you have to fight to go into a shell once you get ahead?
Yes, it is.
And how have you evolved in that respect as a coach?
Well, it's interesting because, again, as a coach, I think just as I was as a player, especially in one-off games where you win in advance, there's that tendency to want to protect what you have. And what I know is from experience, both playing and now coaching, is that that ends up being more dangerous because you then start giving the momentum and energy to the other team. I think the key is this, and you ask how I've grown into it, is simply the experiences of seeing a team play in such a manner that you're protective, and in those situations it rarely ends up in your favor. And in situations like that, like it did last weekend, is you have to gain that momentum back, and it's so much harder to gain the momentum back than it is to maintain it and build on it. So my growth has come through experiences where protecting a lead hasn't helped.
So if you were a football coach, would you never play a prevent defense?
Well, you tell me of looking at a prevent defense of how many times, you look back on it and go, oh my goodness, what are they doing? How come they're just not playing the way they have? And, I think in the course of a game, there's certain tactical, adjustments that you need to make. But I think if you concede territory, you end up putting yourself in a situation where you regret it and provide them opportunities to score. And in soccer, it's no different, that you want to keep them away and play in their half as much as possible without conceding, territory.
Tim Bell was named Herman
Well, you know what, we first recognize any individual awards and honors as a team award because it doesn't happen unless we're in the Elite Eight and being successful. So one, it's a testimony to the team and the season we're having and the program. So I give the whole team credit that we have somebody that is recognized as one of the best players in the country. I think when you look out there, that you look at right backs in the country, and I'm confident in saying, and we've seen the best teams, that Tim is the best right back in the country. For him to, be leading or close to leading the country in assists as a right back says a lot about his skill set and what he can add from a defensive position in the attack. He continues to grow as a player. The best part, though, is he's grown as a leader, and that doesn't show up in the statistics. It shows up in us winning as a team. But if there's anyone that has grown the most and had the biggest impact as a leader this year, it's Tim. I'm proud of him that he's recognized, for the Herman Trophy and being one of the semifinalists. I hope as we move forward that, he'll be one of the finalists.
Is he your third, Colin, and Andrew? Is he the third? And what does that mean for the future? I mean, it has to help recruiting and stuff when you've got guys on that list.
Yes, certainly. And one, I think all players that play in college soccer want to be recognized for their efforts. And, the highest achievement is individual effort is the Herman Trophy. But furthermore, I think a lot of guys that come to our program want to have the chance, like Steph, to play afterwards. And, certainly when you have guys that are Herman Trophies, it's an indication of we have that ability to help them continue to develop, to be recognized as one of the best in the country, and then provide them the opportunities then to play afterwards.
Any disappointment at all that Joe didn't make that list?
Disappointment and shocked, with his output of how many goals he has this year and game winners. I'm a little bit surprised that he's not included in that, but it's kind of like the ACC awards at the end of the year. You look at that and, wonder how some of our guys weren't included in it. Steph wasn't included in, being all ACC, and you wonder how that can happen. But when other people are voting on it, you never know. You never know why. It doesn't take away from the awesome year Mo's had.
You've been to this point before in the NCAA tournament. You've been to the College Cup, obviously, but for most of your players, this is going to be their first time playing in a game with stakes like this. What do you do as a coach to get them in the right mindset over the next few days?
Well, I think the stakes were the same last weekend, and that is that you win and you advance. There's just less teams in the tournament. But right now, it's no different. That our goal is to continue to survive and move on in the tournament as long as it continues to play on. Certainly, as you move on to the tournament, you have teams that also have advanced that are playing very good soccer, and it becomes even more difficult with each step, but it's still the same scenario. Right now, we're just trying to advance and make sure that we continue in the NCAA tournament. Regardless of whether it's second, third, or fourth round, it's, the same things at stake is you win and you keep playing, and that's where we want to be after Saturday night.
I think I spoke to it a little bit earlier, but just the adversity that we've gone through. If you look at Maryland, they had some tough games, but they were on the winning side of every single game throughout going undefeated into the tournament. If you don't know how to lose, or if you haven't lost, it kind of hurts your chances to really win, just because you're not going to see games throughout the season like you will in the tournament. So I think having those tough games, having those losses, has prepared us well for this. And then I think having home field advantage throughout the entire tournament was huge for us to get to the College Cup. And then at the end of the day, in the College Cup, 4 teams left. They're all the highest caliber teams in the country. So it's whoever's going to put the effort in, has the most focus, and I think that's what we've done every game. Outwork the other team. We know we can do that, and all it is 90 minutes of dedication to it.
You can drill a little deeper. How does losing prepare you to win?
I think, I think knowing the gut feeling, the pain of losing, makes you want to fight for that next goal, want to, defend all that harder, make that extra run because you don't want to experience that again. It's kind of like if you don't know sadness, then you don't know happiness as well. But, so losing, going through those tough games, those heartbreak moments, makes you never want to experience that again, especially on a stage like this.
I know you still, hopefully, you're hoping that you have at least a couple more weekends left with the Cardinals. But what do you see as your future? I think you were among the top goalies in last year's Super Draft in MLS. Are you looking at a professional career after this?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that was one of the big reasons I came to Louisville also, was because, we play in the ACC, we play on the biggest stage there is to play on as far as it goes for college soccer. And I knew, getting far was going to increase my chances, and, all the other seniors' chances, Mike, DJ, Romy, all great players, and all, very good chances at going pro. And so I think the further we get, the better chances we have. But at the end of the day, kind of what I'm looking towards right now is this weekend and next weekend. And then I know we'll all deal with that afterwards. And when it comes down to it, if these next couple weekends go really well, then I think things will fall in place really nicely for us.
What do you know about Stanford this weekend? I mean, you've had some teams you've been familiar with in the tournament so far. What do you know about Stanford?
I think from what we've seen, we haven't seen a lot yet because, we're still getting past Notre Dame. But looking forward, I know we'll delve into it a little bit deeper tomorrow. But they seem pretty similar to Notre Dame, a 4-4-2, and, not insanely athletic like a Virginia or a Syracuse or anything, but a very smart team, obviously, a very organized team, tough to score on. But I think it's a good thing that we played Notre Dame leading up to it because it's prepared us well. Notre Dame is, they were one of the best teams in the nation, especially earlier in the season. Hit some struggle, but their potential to be the best team in the nation is tough to get around, and that we beat them twice at home is very helpful for us, for our confidence, and to know we have Stanford at home in a similar situation is good for us.
How much does Lynn give you an advantage?
It gives us a huge advantage. I think the environment, having the whole crowd there is big, but I think also one of the biggest things is just not having to travel, not putting the miles on your legs, sitting in an airplane, sitting on a bus. It's hard. Getting to to eat at the U Club just like we do before every other home game. Be at Lynn, it's familiar, and it's routine.